I was curious, like with .com, when at first I said like 2001, 2, whatever, was it you writing the workouts and notes and all that stuff? And at what point did you stop? Or can you remember why you stopped? Was it just like a delegation thing?
No, I stopped 2 times. I stopped once, probably 10 years in, because I had people like Leif Edmondson that did great work and caught on. And again, the first 6 months of 2019, I did all the WODs, and I still think those were great. And then I turned it over to Leif again. But and Leif Leif's very, very talented.
Why did you take it back in 2019? Just did you miss it, or did you think there was something wrong?
Yeah, I sensed a drift, and I wanted workouts that everyone could do, or a larger percentage of people could do, and yet the very best would distinguish themselves. In other words, I don't need to do a Fran at 185 pounds, because if you can do Fran at 185 pounds, 95 pounds, you'll do it in a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can show it that way with reduced time. And I wanted also to the scales, holds, that the slips, I think we were calling it, L-sits, stretching, what was it, inverted, I can't remember the thing, but I had an acronym for it. But I think that was some of our very best work. It was January in 2019 onward.
So you did it, delegated it, sensed the drift, took it back, sort of steadied the ship, and then gave it again.
Yep.
And was there any point after that where you were like,
I moved all of the game stuff off of the front end, and I said that we're going to run this like a daily paper. You might have, if the Dodgers win the World Series, it'll be on the front page of the LA Times, but that might be the only story that makes the front page from the sports world the whole year.
Yeah.
Right? And I go, so I've got that kind of tolerance. But and Cal will appreciate this too. Nobody liked me putting fat people on the front end of the website. Nobody liked that. My staff didn't like it. Jeff Kane didn't like it. Dave Castro didn't like it. And I was committed to it.
So is that like were you trying to show who it could be for, whereas they were trying to show where people could get to? Is that like the...
Fair enough. And you're not getting excited advertising executive about a gym advertisement that features a 400-pound woman with a walker coming through the door. No, and I understand the why of that. If you don't know what you could do for her, why would you advertise for that? And I think most people would have refused or not been willing to work with some of the people we worked with.
What about, like, so say if you go to a CrossFit gym, if you look in an average class, say 15 people, there might be maybe 1, maybe 2 people that fit that description that you're talking about. Yes. Whereas everybody else is either, fairly physically capable, or has their motivation set, they're, on their way, or they want to improve or whatever. Like, if you went back now, do you think, would you do the same thing? Do you still think that's the core market, or that's the person that you can help the most? Or do you think that maybe that demographic that's in an affiliate speaks more about the people doing it?
No, it wasn't a marketing effort in any traditional sense of I thought this would drive revenue. It was me wanting the affiliates to know that we sat in unique possession of an elegant solution to the world's greatest problem, of vexing problem, chronic disease. And I committed to demonstrating that very publicly. And I had told our staff that we've got 15,000 world-class diabetes reversal centers. The problem is that not everyone running these centers knows it.
Yeah.
And as I said, and the problem starts with us here in our own building. We don't know. And so I told the crew that let's make use of our Facebook account. And what I want to do is I want to get elderly people and overweight people. At the time, the language was old farts and fat fucks amongst us privately. And I said, but we can't say we want old farts and fat fucks, but let's try this. And what we did is we put out that if you consider yourself the least likely person to do CrossFit, we want to talk to you. And we had about 20 good responses, out of which 12 were clearly morbidly obese or elderly. And we started with those 12, and in 18 months, that turned into 150 people. And the stories that came out of that, I mean, if you got a heart and you're a thinking, caring, feeling person, that was one of the most extraordinary things that I think the people ever saw. I know Michelle Moots came down to run the program for us, to lead that. And we brought some of our very best trainers, Chuck Carswell, we had some of our best come through and work with these people, but they that 12 turned into 150. And the stories out of that were, it's just, I mean, that's what you open your gym for, is those kinds of things, you know.
How did you manage when you were doing it to ignore, say, the loudest voices, like the critical ones are usually the loudest? I don't mean external, I mean like within CrossFit. There's a lot of naysayers outside, but as in affiliate owners or people in the sport, or, you know, who are trying to talk about the tip of the spear, whereas you're at the base of the shaft, basically trying to work from there. How do you just block that out and be like, no, it's my thing and this is what we need?
I was pretty good at it. I mean, Tony Budding left, and Savon stayed mad at me, and Dave kind of did his own thing, you know. But I'm still there. I'm still in that space. I have a friend in Scottsdale whose stepdad is a orthopedic surgeon at Ohio State, and his dad rides his bike to work every day and plays squash 3 times a week and eats a carnivore diet. And he's asked me, what else would you suggest I do for my health? And I go, I don't think you need to do anything else for your health. And Elliot asks, not even CrossFit? I don't think that's going to provide more health than eating right and exercising the way he is. But what I would be interested in is if I could talk him into improving his squash game or being better on his bike, we would use CrossFit to do that. And I wouldn't be making the claim that there's a health side to that.
Yeah. So like, yeah, where's the biggest return, basically? You mentioned like 2018, 2019 there, when a lot of people cite the media team being disbanded as the maybe beginning of the end is a bit hard. But, you know, like that it was the start of the kind of decline from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Do you think when you did that, did you know the ramification or the ripple that would send out? And would you do things differently now?
No, I would do that again. And I would recommend anyone kind of that was in that position to do that same kind of thing too. And it was this, we were blocking outside media. And so other than Sevy's guys running around with our 25 red cameras at 15,000 apiece, our spend was nuts and growing. And I couldn't let real journalists in. And as soon as I pushed them back, that very immediately in 2019, I had CBS, NBC, ABC, everyone was there. Every newspaper was there, full of people asking questions. And Sean Woodlick and Tommy Market were standing there just fucking miserable. I spent enough money on them and their show that I, unfair to them, convinced them they had talents they do not have. I can spend enough money that you can think you're really talented. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. And their current work and output, I think, suggests that I was right. That's so mean, but I'm being honest. Now, I do know this too, that when the DEI people were peddling this rumor that Sevy Dave and I were drugging games athletes and fucking them and blackmailing them, Sean and Tommy felt free to run that around because I had people sending me texts where they'd sent it. And what I did was threatened Dawn and Marshall with litigation. And they told me they'd get to the bottom of it. Now, I think some of that stopped. That came out of CrossFit's DEI team.
That's like a retaliation against the old guard, sort of.
Some kind of sense of everything Glassman had to be removed. Then people started sending me some of the Sean Woodlake and Tommy Marquez texts that were being passed around. There was another guy too, the what is it? The guy that was doing their
Chalk up? No?
No, they were a problem too, always. I'm trying to think of the kid's name that, it doesn't matter. But there was someone else too that was peddling this stuff. And I just call him right up.
What's the, like...
It was the handicapped athletes, what do we call that? What's the... Adaptive athletes head. The guy that wrote a paper on that he stole from someone. And I'd heard he was passing that too, and so I called him up.
And what's the response when you say, hey, I heard you saying this?
Utter shock.
Yeah.
Just...
Sort of like a child being called a lie sort of scenario.
Yeah. Correct.
Well, there's a lot of talk now, obviously, about, I watch you on Seb on most weeks until I realise I don't understand what's being talked about anymore, and I sort of dip out and go and do something and come back. I watch on like 0.5 speed so I can follow. But I know that you're vehement in your decision being right to step away, and that you don't want to be involved, and you don't want to, teach someone how to do a push press or, be involved in that sort of stuff. Objectively, from the outside looking in, what type of person do you think is missing as either an owner or a leader or something to put CrossFit back? Because it seems like it's sort of rudderless, lost. If you were to handpick a type of person to just plop in that you think could steady the ship like you did with .com and whatever 2019, is there a type of person that you think is missing?
Like a Daniel Chaffee kind of thing?
Yeah, why? What's there, do you think?
I think he's an absolutely outstanding trainer, and he's proven the ability to communicate with people from all around the world. The country managers love him, and I love him. And I know that one of the serious bidders that the company has designs for Daniel that would make sense to me.
Do you think, would there be any pushback, do you think, if it wasn't an American owner or an American leader or an American team?
It's a good question, but if someone could pull that off, I think it would be Daniel again. I find it odd that my French country manager is a British bloke.
With a French accent, which is really confusing.
Yeah. And
a French name. I remember the first time I talked to him, I was like, he's definitely French, isn't he? Yeah. And then Chaffee and the French accent.
Yeah, they love him.
Yeah.
They love him, and I understand that. Yeah, he's really a solid part of the community.
But his North Star is affiliates. And his North Star is affiliates.
Yes.
And he's proven he can do it.
Yeah, that's the whole ball of wax.
Yeah. And what tends to happen...
I tried to sell the games, you've heard that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it. I tell you what, man, sweet Gabby Morgan, my WMEIMG agent, she brought us just about every venture capital group you could imagine. They all came running forward. CrossFit's got to sell something. And they'd look at the books and they go, yeah, we'd love to buy the games. And we want the affiliation of the seminars too. I go, no, that's the part I'm going to keep. And they're like, there's no chance. And I was like, it was funny to me that they were smart enough to realize that doesn't make any fucking money and it's not something you want to buy.
Yeah.
But whereas I had trouble convincing my own staff that. I mean, I told you that I was pissed at Rogan and Matt Frazier when Rogan says you made him all that money and he still doesn't even recognize you when you see him, and he wasn't sitting at the adult table. My attorneys have had problems with that too. I told Dale Saron once that, listen, pal, I go, here's how it is. I'm driving the bus and you're the attorney, and I want you to look out the back window and take note of the people I run over. But I'm not going to drive the bus different for you. I said, if I had asked you if we could post a workout every day and just let people do it at random, what would you say? He said, I would have recommended against it. I would rest my case.
Yeah.
It's interesting with attorneys. They're dangerous undirected. And I had to tell him several times, like, dude, if we don't sue for this, there'll never be a good reason ever to sue it. You're worthless. And this was when the guy at IC Reps announced on Cable One, the only fucking channel in New Zealand, that CrossFit had killed people in the States. And so we sued his ass. And you know what's funny? He said in the pre-trial motions, he said that he never said that. And so we went to the reporter, reported it, and she goes, and she wouldn't talk to us. So we showed up at her workplace, sat in the cafeteria at the newspaper, and she came in like, hi. And she said, wow, you came all the way here. And and she's like, hey, good on you. She goes, let me tell you what happened. He didn't say it. He sent it in an email.
Oh, wow.
And then she gave me the email. And this was worth it. So we took that to the judge, and the judge was fucking pissed. They sat there a lot, said they'd never said that. But here was the crazy thing about that. When we filed suit against IC Reps, the address belonged to the Keller Group in Atlanta, and they are the agency of health choice or record or something that says, you go to their website, it's great, but they're right down the street from Coca-Cola. But they form proxies, they do litigation, legislation, lobbying, promotions, and proxy group formations for the American Beverage Association. And that's who started the International Consortium for the Registry of Exercise Professionals. Mm-hmm. It was a soda marketing idea.
Yeah, we don't believe in coincidences. You have the line.
It was a no-brainer for me. That's where this is coming from. And they had clout. They were forcing legislation, and like in Europe, that you could. There was a period we had gyms here that had troubles with the IC Reps things. The intrusion of soda into the health space and the fitness space is amazing. Exercise as medicine is Coke-founded, and it's baked into the Affordable Care Act. That's how good they are. I was shocked to learn. Did you read Murray Carpenter's book? Did you look at that? Yeah. It was interesting. He's 10 years too late.
Yeah.
You know? He sat on that for so long. I liked him. He's a good dude. He's a good egg.
Yeah, I never met him. Dang it.
Do you, I know you don't like the sport. You're notoriously a huge fan of the the sport of CrossFit, like this level. But when you come to this and see, say, I mean, there's a multitude of things for you to look at when you look back to, say, 01, 02, and you're at this and you see people doing heavy Isabel in like 3 minutes, whatever, and you see some of the skills that have been unlocked or that have been reached. But even away from the floor, you look at the amount of people that are here, whatever, like 20 something years later, the amount of brands that have started because of CrossFit, like the amount of products that have been invented because of CrossFit, the amount of jobs, the amount of mortgages that have been got off the back of people starting things because they found .com one day or because they saw Froning doing something or whatever. Like, have you ever stopped and thought, like, this is fucking crazy, that this was just like, I wrote a workout online one day and then kept doing it, and then all of this huge ecosystem grew out from that?
It's hard to take in, but you also have nothing else to compare it to, you know. But I found it interesting that it was readily acknowledged and obvious to me that we were doing something that had never been done before. But I had all these people stand over my shoulder telling me I'm doing it wrong. And I found that kind of amusing, and I still do, especially coming up from people that really didn't have much experience, you know.
Brian Kelly.
Yeah, Rob Wolf, you know, doing it all. Rob Wolf, when he opened his affiliate, went to get an SBA loan, and the SBA person went through the website and says, this is they're making a horrible mistake. There's guns and all kinds of stuff on, and I'm like, we're training soldiers. So fucking, and cops, they have guns. You know, like, it was so weird. That was strange.
He told me you had this helicopter on the website, like a military helicopter with rings on it. He's like, but you can't have this helicopter on it. My teachers want to come do the workout.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't, and it was interesting too. I was in Santa Cruz, and the Wall Street Journal said it was to the left of the People's Republic of Berkeley. That was the Wall Street Journal's take on Santa Cruz, and most of my clientele were devoutly liberal. And someone had said the flag thing looked jingoistic, and but we got along, and I don't know if the climate would allow for that today.
Yeah, you definitely get more pushback.
I don't think so. Yeah,
I mean, we've seen it with the black squares and all that shit. Like I don't think something like this would start tomorrow.